Hey guys, this is Miss Fasanka. Sorry I'm not there today. Just watch the video, and then once you are done with the video and the notes, there is a homework assignment. You can get that from whoever the sub is. It is on paper, and you'll just need to upload both sides once you are done with the homework. You do not need to upload the notes. So we are doing trig functions and word problems today. You guys will be able to understand what sine, cosine, and tangent are and their ratios, which we've already done. You'll be able to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of a given angle, and then use sine, cosine, and tangent to solve a word problem. So before we do anything, we need to get back that half sheet for Monday and Tuesday. If you do not have it, it is over in the blue organizer. So if you need to grab that, you can. We did the front page in class. The most important thing that you need to know about this lesson is that when you are finding an angle, you need to use the inverse. So whenever we're finding like theta or A or an angle measure, we have to use the inverse, which looks like this on your calculator with the -1. So as the exponent. So you would hit second, and then you'd hit like sine or second cosine or second tangent, and that will pull up the inverse for you. Okay, so we are going to do the back page of that half sheet. If you don't have that front page done, make sure that you finish that before you do this. So we need to find the value of each variable, round decimals to 4 decimal places, and also find the missing angles. So first off, I'm going to find the missing angle because that's the easiest to do. So if this, for the first one, if I have 90 degrees and 37, that means this is 53 because a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can either use, sine, cosine, or tangent. It depends on which one you want to use. Whatever I have down, if you did it a different way and you still got the same answer, that's perfectly fine. So first off, I am going to find x first. So to find x, that is my hypotenuse. So I either need to use sine or cosine. And I can either use, the sine of 37, or I can use sine of 53, or cosine of 53, cosine of 37. On my sheet, I did cosine of 53. So cosine of 53 would be the adjacent, which is 6, over the hypotenuse, which is x. So in order to get x by itself, these ones are the ones that you have the most trouble with. You have to multiply both sides by x. You get x times the cosine of 53 equals 6. And then to get x by itself, I need to divide both sides by cosine of 53. When that happens, I end up getting x equals 9.9698, and that is rounded to 4 decimal places. You just have to put this in your calculator to get your answer. Then to get y, so I'm going to erase this here. To get y, here's y. When you are doing these types of problems, you don't want to fill in x for here and then try and do like sine of 37 or cosine of 50 or sine of 53, because this is not an exact answer. Obviously that decimal went on for a very long time, so we want to use the y and the 6 here. And the y and the 6, the only way we could do that is if we do tangent of 37 or tangent of 53. It does not matter which one you do. I did tangent of 37. And tangent of 37 would be opposite, which is 6, over the adjacent, which is y. So again, it's very similar to what we just did. You multiply both sides by y. You get y times tangent of 37 equals 6, and then you need to divide both sides by 37, or tangent of 37, sorry. And you get y equals 6 divided by tangent of 37 is 7.9623. Again, because it says round to 4 decimal places, please make sure that you do that and you do it accurately. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, For the next one, so if you still need this, go ahead and pause it where you are right now so you can finish writing down the stuff or backtrack it. But I need the space, so I'm just going to erase it. For the next one, so we have to figure out what that missing angle measure is first. So I have, if I have 90 and 23, that means this angle up here is 67 degrees. To find out what T and S are, I am going to find S first. So S is over here. I could either do sine of 67 or I could do cosine of 23. Doesn't matter to me which one you do. You'll get the same answer either way. So if we do sine of 67, that means we have S, the opposite, over the hypotenuse. Again, if you need to label what the hypotenuse is, go ahead and do that. To get S by itself, I need to multiply both sides by 34. When I do that, if I put this in my calculator, 34 times the sine of 67, I get oh, that's why I'm looking at the wrong thing on my key here. I get 31, S equals 31.2972, if you round it correctly, 31.2972. Then to get T, I can do sine of 23, or I can do cosine of 67. It does not matter. I'm going to do sine of 23. Like I said in class, usually I just choose to do sine just because that's how I do it. But you can use whichever one you want. So I need to multiply both sides by 34. 34 times sine of 23 is what you get for T, which is 13.2849. For the next one, okay, so we have 90 and 36. That means this missing angle here is 54. Okay, so I need to find R and S. It does not matter which one you do first. I chose to do R first, and I did sine of 54. So sine of 54 would be opposite of, the opposite side of 54 is 4, and then the hypotenuse is R. So again, this is kind of like the first one that we did. We need to multiply both sides by R, so we get R times sine of 54 equals 4, and then divide both sides by sine of 54. And then you get R equals 4.9443, 4.9443. Then to find S. So S is over here. And I can do either, let's see, I'm going to do tangent of 54 because I want to do the opposite over the adjacent. So tangent of, or sorry, not tangent of, I'm going to do tangent of 36. So that I don't have to do as much work. Tangent of 36, opposite of 36 is S. The adjacent is 4. So multiply both sides by 4. 4 times the tangent of 36 is 2.9062. And that is what S equals. So you guys try the next two, and I will go over those with you. If you need to pause it, go ahead and do that. So to find the missing angle right away, this would be 90 plus 65 is 155. So this would be 25 to get to 180 in order to find my U and my T. So what I did first was I did sine of 25, which gives me U because that's opposite. And then my hypotenuse is 8. So U over 8. I multiply both sides by 8. 8 times sine of 25 is 3.3809. And that is my answer because we're rounding to 4 decimal places. Then to find t, if you want to, whoops, I didn't want to erase that. If you want to do cosine, sine, or tangent, doesn't matter which one. I did sine of 65. And that gave me the opposite, which is t, over the hypotenuse, which is 8. So I need to multiply both sides by 8. 8 times sine of 65 is 7.2505, and that is what you get for t. For the last one, if I have 90 and 70, this angle has to be 20 degrees. And I'm going to set it up, I'm going to do, it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm doing sine of 20 to start. The opposite side from 20 is W, and the hypotenuse, whoops, I can't do that. I guess I screwed that. Hold on, let's see. I need to do tan of 20. Tangent of 20 is W over 9, because opposite over adjacent. This is the hypotenuse. So I need to multiply both sides by 9. The tangent of 20 times 9 is 3, so W is 3.275. Then, to get the other one, so I need to do V. I can either do the sine of 70 to do 9 over V, which I did. So sine of 70 is 9 over V. To get V by itself, it's going to be like those first couple ones that we did. So I need to multiply both sides by V. I get V times the sine of 70 equals 9. And then divide both sides by sine of 70. And you have V equals 9.5776. If you have any questions on that, just ask. Okay, now we are on to the 5.6 notes. So if you didn't grab those from up front, please go ahead and do so. It should have these couple of problems at the top. So we are just going to do a quick review here. Find the sine, the cosine, and the tangent of the missing angle. Give a fraction or decimal answer. So for this one, sine is SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite of theta would be 8. The hypotenuse is 10. And that can reduce to 4 over 5, which is also 0.6 if you want. Cosine of theta, you guys should try these on your own, but I'll just go through them. Cosine of theta is adjacent, which is 6, over the hypotenuse, which is 10. That reduces to 3 over 5. Tangent of theta is the opposite over the adjacent, so 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. Tangent can be greater than 1. And that is the only one that can have an answer that is greater than 1. So sine or cosine have to be a decimal or a fraction that is less than 1. Tangent can be, you know, from 0 or greater than 1. So then try this one. You're finding sine, cosine, and tangent. If you need to pause it, go ahead and do that. So sine of A would be opposite over hypotenuse, which is 9 over 10.8. If I reduce that, I could do 5 over 6, or it would be approximately 0.8333. Cosine of A is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The adjacent one is 6, the hypotenuse is 10.8. That could reduce to 5 over 9, or you could have a decimal and it would be 0.5556. You do not want to leave your answer like this with the decimal on the bottom. It does not look proper. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite of A is 9, adjacent is 6. If I reduce that, I get 3 over 2 or 1.5. Okay, so for this one, we are trying to find this. On your figure, you have C here. You guys should know that if you ever have a missing side and you're dealing with a right triangle, you can use the Pythagorean theorem. okay? Yes, I know that we did this kind of on that half sheet already, but it's okay, this is more practice. So to find the Pythagorean theorem, or to find C here with the Pythagorean theorem, we'd have to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 3 squared plus 4 squared, that would be 16, or sorry, that one's not 16, 9 plus 16 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So C equals 5. Okay, so that being said, if C is 5, then we can find out the sine, the cosine, and the tangent of all these. So the sine of theta is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So opposite of theta is 4, the hypotenuse is 5, which means we have 0.8. Or you could leave it as the fraction, doesn't matter to me. Cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Adjacent to theta is 3, the hypotenuse is 5, so we have 3 over 5, which is also 0.6. For tangent, it's opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 4, adjacent is 3, that can reduce, or that is 4 over 3, or you can put it as 1.3333. All right, so that is a good review of what we did on Monday and Tuesday. So then we are going to go ahead and put some word problems in here. So a surveyor is standing 50 feet from the base of a large tree. The surveyor measures the angle of elevation to the top of the tree as 71.5. How tall is the tree? So first of all, standing 50 feet. So we put a 50 there. The angle of elevation is 71.5. Now this angle of elevation we are going to learn next week. So like for these types of problems, we would obviously tell you what the angle of elevation or the angle of depression is. But on Monday and next week, we will learn more about what these are and how to put them on a diagram if you had to make it. So we are looking for the top, or how tall the tree is. So if this is our angle here. If we're looking at this angle, what are the two things that are given to us? So would this be sine, would this be cosine, or would this be tangent? We have the opposite and we have the adjacent. That would be tangent, okay? So we are taking the tangent of 71.5, and that is equal to y or x, whatever you want to use, over 50. The opposite of the angle, opposite side is the missing variable, the adjacent side is 50. So when you do this, you have to multiply both sides by 50 to get rid of that fraction, and then you have y is approximately 149.4 feet. If you put this in, you would get 149.4342, and it keeps on going. So because this 3 here is lower than 5, this 4 stays as it is. So it's 149.4 feet. Okay, a person is 200 yards from a river. Rather than walk directly to the river, the person walks along a straight path to the river's edge at 60-degree angle. How far must the person walk to reach the river's edge? So we're going to draw a picture. There's the river. The person is 200 yards from the river. Rather than walk directly to the river, the person walks along a straight path to the river's edge at a 60-degree angle. So we're making a 60-degree angle, and they're walking on a straight path, like a slanty path. So we are trying to find out what that slanted path is. So we have this value here, 60 degrees. We need to decide what is this an example of, sine, cosine, or tangent. So from this angle here, we have, this would be our hypotenuse, and this is our adjacent. So if we have adjacent and hypotenuse, that would be cosine. So we're taking cosine of 60, and that is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. We're trying to find the hypotenuse, so that is our variable. And then to get x by itself, we first need to get rid of the fraction. So multiply both sides by x, and then divide both sides by cosine of 60. And you get x is 400 yards. the height of a tree which casts a shadow 12.4 meters long when the sun makes an angle of 52 degrees to the horizon. So this is already given for us. We need to decide, okay, here's our angle. We have the opposite and we have the adjacent. So this would be tangent of 52 is the opposite, which is our h, and the adjacent, which is 12.4. To get h, we need to multiply both sides by 12.4. And you end up getting h is 15.87127, and it keeps on going. So again, we're going to round, so we get 15. Because this is a 7, this rounds the 8 up to a 9, so it would be 15.9 meters as our answer. The word problems, once we get into the angle of elevations and depressions next week, are going to be a little bit tricky because you need to know how to set it up. These ones, obviously, we're giving you the picture, which is fine, but you are going to have to set up your own picture eventually. Okay, so more finding angles practice. This is the inverse. So this is where we do second cosine and we type in the number. Second sine, type in the number. Second tangent, type in the number. So here we are going to do cosine, the inverse of cosine times 0.15 will give us the measure of angle A. And I want you guys to all do those in your calculator, and I will go ahead and put the answers down here. So make sure you pause it before you do these. Measure of angle A, and we are rounding, you can round up to, or round to the nearest degree. I just put in 4 decimal places because that way it's easier for you guys to determine if the answer you put down is correct or not. 50.2082. Measure of angle A, 65.5560. Again, you can round these up or down depending on where or what their decimal part is. Measure of angle A, 64.6231. These ones are very easy. Like, you should not get these wrong. All of the calculators are in the correct mode already. And these should be easy points for you. Okay, so check your answers with what I have up there. Make sure you got them all right. If you don't, call over one of the teachers in the room to see what you're doing wrong. You might not be in the correct mode. You have to be in the degree mode, not in radian. Okay, so we have done these. We did these, a little bit of these on Monday and Tuesday. We're just going to do some more practice. So obviously, if it helps you, please write down which side is your hypotenuse. Because when you are doing these, it will help you ultimately to get, to not be confused which side is your adjacent side, which side is your hypotenuse. I'm just going to highlight it so I save myself some room here. The hypotenuse is always across from your 90-degree angle. Okay, so I have that highlighted in yellow there. Okay, if I'm trying to find this angle measure here and I am given the opposite and the hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine, so I need to do sine here. I'm going to do sine of x equals, opposite is 46, hypotenuse is 53. Because we're trying to find an angle measure, we have to do the inverse. So you're going to put this in your calculator, and you're going to get your answer. Notice how the directions say to the nearest degree. You need to round to the nearest degree. When you put this in your calculator, you get x equals 60.21834, and it keeps on going. So because this number is a 2, you leave it as 60 degrees. You do not round up to 61. Okay, then for number 2. So we have this angle here, from this angle. We have the adjacent and we have the hypotenuse. So this would be cosine. So we are doing cosine of x is 15 over 43. Then I need to do the inverse of the cosine. 15 divided by 43 equals x. When you plug that into your calculator, you get x equals 69.58378. Because this is a 5 here, that rounds your number up to 70 degrees. Again, you don't have to technically write this step in if you don't want to. You could just go straight to this step. That's fine. But if you know you're not very strong with these yet, I would highly suggest you write this first step until you get the hang of it. So for number 3, we have the opposite side and we have the opposite and the adjacent. So this is tangent. So we're taking the tangent of x, which is 5 over 12. We need to do the inverse. So 5 over 12, put that in your calculator. That will give you the answer for x. You get x equals 22.61986, which would round to 23 degrees. For number 4, so we have the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, so this is cosine. So we're doing cosine of x is 4 over 6, and then I'm going to put that in my calculator to do the inverse. So the inverse of cosine, parentheses 4 over 6 is 48.18968, which this is a 1 here, so this stays at 48 degrees. If you need to pause it there to write down the work, that's fine. For number 5, so we have, again, I'm going to highlight the hypotenuse so you guys know it's always across from the 90-degree angle. Okay, so for the first one, we have the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is sine. So we are doing sine of x is 45 over 53. Again, you need to do the inverse. Whenever you're finding the angle, you have to do the inverse. So if I do the inverse of that, I get 58.10920, which rounds to 58 degrees. You do not round that up because it's 0.1. It stays the same. Number 6, you have your angle here, so we are doing the opposite and the adjacent, which is tan. So tangent of x equals the opposite, which is 5, over the adjacent, which is 9. Take the inverse of that, and you get x equals 29.0546. That stays at 29 degrees. It does not round up. For number 7, so we have the opposite and the adjacent, so this is tangent again. Tangent of x is 17 over 19, opposite over adjacent. We're going to do the inverse, so tangent of -1 times 17 over 19 is my angle, and I get x equals 41.82016. Because this is an 8 here, this rounds 41.8 up to 42 degrees. And then for number 8, so I have the opposite and I have the hypotenuse, which would be sine. So sine of x is 12 over 22. Do the inverse. And if I put that in my calculator, I end up getting x equals 33.05573, which would be x equals 33 degrees. Again, make sure to follow the directions. You don't have to put this step here if you don't want to, but if this answer that you got is off, if you rounded incorrectly, you will get the problem wrong. So make sure that you are looking at, it's helpful if you write this down because then I can see how you rounded or if your rounding was incorrect. Okay, you do not need to upload the notes to Canvas, but you do need to do the homework assignment. It should be somewhere in the room. Ask one of the adults in the room for it. Okay, That needs to be done today during class. Please upload that once you are finished, both sides. Email me if you have any questions. Have a great day and a great weekend, guys.